Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway once again, and today is going to be a day all about various B12 locomotives. And as you can see here, I've got B12s in all different shapes and sizes. A couple of them are modern, as you can see here, and I've also got a couple to unbox actually, a slightly older Hornby one and a very much older Triang version. And so I'll just tell you all about what's going to happen today, because it's really going to be a bit of a mixture and a cross between a running day and a review. I'm going to start off by reviewing one of the modern ones, and that's going to be this blue one, which is in fact running number 61525. A lovely Hornby model from the Anglian train set, I believe, from the early 2000s. So that should be fun. Then I'm going to run these two modern ones together, and that will sort of end the first half of the video. Then I'm going to do a couple of unboxings for you. First off, this sort of northeastern Hornby B12 from the Hornby Railways era. And then finally I'm going to unbox this Triang Railways version, and then at the end we'll get them all running together. So it should be a lot of fun. The B12 locomotives are really interesting, and we'll talk a bit more about the locos in real life as we get along. But first off then, let's start off with this blue, BR Blue, that is, B12, and let's do a very brief review of her for you. And so there she is then, up for review, Hornby's BR Blue B12 from the Anglian train set. And it really is, in my opinion, probably the best looking B12 Hornby have produced, just because of the livery. I mean, just look at that beautiful BR Blue livery. The shade of blue itself is pretty much spot on, in my opinion. But you've also got those lovely white stripes that go all the way over the boiler there, and they're sort of double white stripes as well, which makes them extra attractive, if you like. The loco is fairly well detailed, both in the paintwork and on the separately fitted parts, and the moulding is pretty good as well. I suppose most of it is moulded. As you can see, there's a little moulded turning wheel, or what looks like a turning wheel there, and you've got various moulded bits of detail like the reversing rod there, and all sorts of things really. You have got what appear to be copper safety valves and whistle on the top there, as well as separately fitted handrails which go all along the sides of the boiler and round the front of the smoke box. And it's definitely worth pointing that out, because on some of the older Hornby models, which are very much the same as this one, they are actually moulded on, those handrails, but in this case they are separately fitted, which is very nice. Around the front you've got the running number painted onto the front of the smoke box door there, as well as the shed code, which is 30A. And that's quite a nice touch. You know, from the front you can see which loco it is and whatnot. You have got sort of turned metal buffers on the front there, which aren't sprung, and they're on quite a simple looking buffer beam there. On the side of the cab you've also got the running number, which is really neatly applied, number 61525 as you can see there, and underneath you've got RA4, which stands for Route Availability 4 of course. Inside the cab you have got a fair amount of cab detail, as always with these B12s, but unfortunately it isn't painted, which is a little bit of a shame, and you haven't got glazed windows either. I suppose that does make the loco a little bit less expensive to produce. But still, glazed windows, in my opinion, do add a little bit of detail. As you can see, the running gear is quite minimal, and that's because in real life these models had internal valves, which means that on the outside all you can see there is the linkage rods, which is realistic, and that's one of the things that gives the B12 its very unique look, I suppose. Moving on to the tender, it's a really nice tender. I've always really liked the B12 tender. It's just so small and so cute looking, isn't it? You've got the British Railways crest there, which is the early emblem, looking very nicely applied there. Of course it's backed by that beautiful BR Blue, which is bordered by the double white stripes, which are really nice. The tender also features a very realistic chuffing sound, which you will hear when she runs along, hopefully, if it's working properly, and that's quite a nice mechanism, and it adds a little bit of play value to the loco. The coal in the tender there is pretty nice looking. It's not changed at all basically from the Triang days, but it is coal and it looks like coal, so I suppose that's not a problem. You've also got separately fitted handrails on there as well, but generally a very elegant tender, and tender and loco together do look very beautiful. So I suppose what we'll do now then is we'll take her down onto the railway with the LNER green one, and we'll get them both running for you. Alright, so there she is then, down onto the tracks, looking lovely, and I will give her a little performance test for you in just a second. But first let me show you what else is on the other line first of all. As you can see, this is the LNER version of the B12, like you saw earlier at the beginning. And there are a few differences between this loco and of course the BR Blue one there. And firstly, the most obvious one is the livery. Of course, it is in the LNER green with LNER on the tender, as you can see there. But in fact the moulding is identical. It is exactly the same body and it's exactly the same loco, but as you can see the LNER green version does have a bit more embellishment on its paint job. As you can see, the reversing rod there has been painted, whereas it hadn't on the blue version. And also the wheel arches there have got lots of gold paint on them there, as well as a white lining and an LNER badge. Which contrasts quite a bit to the BR Blue one, which has fairly plain looking wheel arches. And you've also got a bit more paint around the windows as well. As you can see, there's a white lining there, as you'd probably expect from LNER. And also on the front, as you can see, the running number is in fact on the front buffer beam rather than being on the smoke box door, as you can see there. And of course it was on the smoke box door with the BR Blue version. So I would say the LNER green version actually does have quite a lot more detail in the paintwork, and I suppose it's a bit smarter even, isn't it, because it's so beautifully painted. But still, they're both really smart locos, so we'd better give this BR Blue version a quick test run then, hadn't we? So before she couples up to the coaches then, let's just try her at slow speeds and see how she gets on. Let's try real slow. As you can see, look at that. Wonderful slow speed performance. Really creeps along so slowly. And she's only working on 6 pickups, 3 on each side. From the driving wheels, of course, there's none in the tender, and there's none on the front bogey wheels. So it's really not bad at all. It doesn't cut out on the points, as I notice. And as you can see, just what a wonderful, slow and quiet runner she really is. I'll shut up for a minute so you can hear just how quiet she is. Stunning, really. Okay, let's throw her into reverse then and get her to couple to those coaches. You can hear the chuffing a little bit there as well. There we go. And yep, I think she's got those coaches then. I think they look successfully coupled. So I'll get the power back on and we'll get her off forward, shall we? Here we go. And let's start the LNER green version as well. And very quickly then, I'll just show you my rating for the BR Blue version. So firstly then, I think detail is probably the only drawback to this model. As we'll see later, it's very much unchanged compared with the older Triang version in terms of the detail there, so it's probably a little bit lower than we're used to on a modern loco. Performance, as you saw there, 8 out of 10, very smooth, very quiet, and very slow if you want it to be, so can't fault that. Character, she's absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, it's one of the prettiest locomotives I've got. In that lovely BR Blue livery, of course. So full marks for character. Again, build quality 9 out of 10. It's fantastic, really, how well these have been built. They do seem to wear out a little bit sometimes. You know, I've seen a few with worn out gears, but that's really the only thing. The quality really is very good. Value, again, very good value. I got this for about £40. You can't get them new, I don't think, anymore, because they don't do the Anglian train set anymore. But if you keep an eye on eBay, you can actually get them now quite inexpensively, so very good value. Which leaves us to overall 9 out of 10, a fantastic loco. I can't fault it, and it really is beautiful pulling those Pullman coaches, as you can see. So let's go back down to the railway then, and let's see them run for a little while. So yeah, really beautiful locos, as you can see, and they do run really well. The B12 was in fact originally classified as an S69 locomotive, which were designed by SD Holden. But then the LNER came along, you know, during the grouping, and they reclassified the class as B12. But I believe they were rebuilt into various subclasses as well. In total there were 81 produced, but only one is preserved, and that's number 8572. That was the LNER running number, I think, and the BR running number was 61572. So, yep, only one left, which is a shame, but at least we've got one, I suppose. Yeah, fantastic, and I really like that BR Blue one with the Pullman coaches. I think they look really smart with her. So I'm pleased I did that actually. I was going to just run some of those intercity coaches, you know, the blue ones, because they look a bit like BR coaches, but no, I thought the Pullmans would be smarter. And of course, the LNER logo there has got the teak coaches, which is to be expected really, but that looks really smart as well. So yeah, really pleased with this. It looks really good. Right, so I'm going to stop these two locos here then, and we'll move on, I think, to the unboxing of the slightly older versions, and I'll also give you a quick look at those, just so that you can see the differences. So yeah, let's go and unbox them. Alright, so here we are. We're going back in time now to 1977, when this locomotive was released. This one, as you can see by what it says here, is a 460 Class B12 locomotive and tender, and as you can see by the diagram there, it's a northeastern locomotive running number 7476. And if we do take a quick look at the end of the box, you can see there that it is still R150, and R150 is the same product code that BR Blue one and the LNER Green one were. And this also says LNER loco, which it's not, it's NE, but still they did belong to the LNER at one point, B12/3 class. So yeah, that's cool. So basically it's already what we knew, but it's still R150, which is quite interesting. So let's take the box apart, or what? Let's take the loco out of the box. Here we go. There we go. Fabulous, and there's a little card that we get with the diagram on it, and it says again R150 and 9300, looks like, very strange, but yeah, that's the card. And then here we've got the loco, and as you can see, it is basically what it said on the box, number 7476, and northeastern, as you can see there, and the E is a little bit skewed. I don't know what's happened to that one, but let's take the tender out to start with anyway. And as you can see, first thing, this has also got the chuffing sound, and as you can see, it's basically an identical tender to the last one. The same coal, same moulded detail, hasn't got the handrails like the modern ones have, but other than that it's exactly the same, which is quite cool, I suppose, that they've not changed it at all. And again, here's the loco, which is exactly identical, except you can see here that those handrails are moulded on and just painted silver rather than being separately fitted. But apart from that, if we turn it around, you can see it's exactly the same. You've got that turning wheel, you've got the reversing rod, the same bit of moulding here, same whistle and safety valves, so completely identical. They've not changed it at all, which is really cool. So yeah, we'll get that one running in just a second then. Let me just clear this box out the way. There we go, and I'll bring out the Triang ones, and these are the super old ones now. As you can see, I've got them in the boxes, which are fab. The boxes are really in good condition. And I think we'll start with the tender actually, so I'll move the loco out the way now. As you can see, the box is really in good condition, and I suppose the interesting thing to look at is what's on the end of the box. And as you can see there, it's R39, which is different of course. The tender has a separate product code. Tender for R150 locomotive. And as you'll see when we open this up, this is the BR one. So yeah, let's open this up now, shall we? And it's actually got that written on the back and on the front, which is quite interesting. Out it comes, and as you can see, once again we've got an identical tender, absolutely the same, except it is slightly painted differently of course, but other than that it is very much the same. and as you can see it's got the BR crest on it, the later crest, and it's also got the white and red stripes around it. And this one, funnily enough, doesn't have the chuffing sound. It does have the piece of metal which scrapes against the emery board, or whatever you want to call it, but that's just because I put that there. I changed the wheels on this because they came with green LNER wheels, which wasn't quite right. So yep, very nice tender, exactly the same as before, except for the livery, of course. So let's grab the Triang box. There it is, and as you can see, again, fantastic condition. I was really pleased to get this in such good nick. As you can see on the end of the box, once again R50, same product code, so it originates back to the 60s. And this version of the model did actually come out in 1964, and it was produced through until 1971. And let's get it out so you can see the running number and such. Let's just take this flap. There we go. That's it, put the box to one side, and as you can see, this locomotive once again is exactly the same, number 61572, and that's the one that was produced from 64 to 71. As you can see, exactly the same moulding, same reversing rod, moulding, turning wheel. Of course, on the older versions the wheels are slightly different. You've got thicker connecting rods and whatnot, but other than that it is exactly the same once again, but in a slightly different livery once again, in the BR black. So, very nice, two new, well not new, I've had them ages, but two newly unboxed for you, locos. As you can see, slightly different. This one's got the metal bogie wheels and a slightly different font, of course, but still pretty much identical. So let's get them both onto the railway and let's get them running, shall we? Okay, so they're both out on the line now and coupled ready. The BR version, which is number 61572, is coupled to a rake of 5 cream and brown coaches, which are Lima again, and I haven't shown them before, I don't think, on the channel, so that should be pretty nice. The northeastern version, which is 7476, is pulling a rake of several wagons, including some Kellogg's, McVitie's. There's animal wagons, livestock wagons, Bird's Eye, Kit Kat, all sorts, and also a suitable NE brake van on the back there. So hopefully that will all look pretty good. I did want to get some freight in there somewhere, just for the sake of it really, so that's what I did with the northeastern one. So okay, let's get the BR one up and running first then, with her set of coaches. Here she goes, and these are both running XO4 motors in them from the Triang or Hornby era. So there goes that one, that's a nice speed. And now for the NE one, here she goes. Nice and gently does it. You can just about hear her chuffing, but not very loudly. And there they go. Right, let's watch them go. And they are great runners, as I'm sure you can see. They're pretty smooth, aren't they, too? For their age, especially. So, yeah, two more great B12s. Alright then everybody, well that should just about do it. That's 4 B12s from all different times. You've got 1964 here, 1977. This one I'm not too sure about, I can't find when it was made, but it was going to be somewhere in the early 2000s, and this green one here was released between 2008 and 2011, so that's almost 50 years of B12 locomotives there, and they're basically unchanged, aren't they, throughout that time, which is really interesting. But yeah, that's about it. That's about all I've got to show you. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing these. It was quite interesting to film, and it was a bit of something different. If you did like the video, please don't hesitate to leave a like or even a comment on the video, because it's lovely to hear from you. If you'd like to also, you can check out the Facebook or Twitter pages at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. But for now guys, if you're still here, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.